Aside, vagabonds on snake-lane trails, knights render these stories wretched from their veils. For the oath, for the glory, through sorrow and ache, the city that quest to which no knight can make. This is Mythic Bastionland.
Finny and DG lead the way. New RPG systems every day. Dice roll, quick adventure calls. Walking through tabletop's golden halls. Masters of pen and paper. RPGs of every flavor. Talking about different creators. The choice of games is never greater. Come with us to games they run through. New, old, and interesting. Thank you all for listening.
Welcome into the show, everybody. Episode 23. We are talking about Mythic Bastionland today. My name is DG. This is my main man,
Finny, coming at you. What is up,
just
people?
about forgot my own name. That is a thing. I just about did that. But you know what?
It's going to be one of those nights.
It's going to be one of those nights because this game is a very interesting one. Let's put it that way. If you listen to episode 13, we did a game called Into the Odd. It was done by the same creator of this game, one Chris McDowall. And if you're interested in checking that out first, this is kind of your notice that to check that one out before you jump into this.
You can hit pause. You can come back here after you've listened to an hour of us talking about Into the Odd. And
the reason why that's important is because as soon as I opened this book and I started reading the rules, I was like, I know who made this game. And I had the same I hate to call them issues because they're not issues, but the way that my brain tries to perceive this game is so much more difficult than any of the other games that we go through because it's just it's big and tiny at the same time. It's very difficult.
Suffers from the rules light, improv heavy kind of stuff. And that's definitely what it is.
And I saw in a video you had sent me, they had done a interview with Chris McDowall himself. And Chris specifically said that he designed the game to be rules light and flavor heavy. And that is definitely the way
that is definitely how it goes. Yeah. He hit the nail on that one.
Nail on the head. So Finny, tell us a little bit about this game, where it came from, and tell us what is Mythic Bastionland.
We did kind of touch on Chris McDowall and where his kind of origins were on episode 13. So we're not going to rehash that because we don't like doing things
He's a guy
twice.
who makes games.
He makes games. So far he's made about 7 or so now. This is one of his newer ones, possibly his newest.
Newest at the time of recording.
Sure on that.
It's definitely. I think this edition we're covering is only a year old.
Yes, I think so. That sounds about right. It was originally a Kickstarter, and it completed in December of 2023 and raised just over 250,000 euros.
Wow.
I believe that's what it is. Pounds, euros, I don't know. A little funny looking symbol on there.
European money.
He's from across the water, so yeah. Who knows?
Their money's worth more than ours. That's why we sound jealous.
That's one.
What it is.
There you go. The one that's worth more than our money, our fake Canadian money. Other than that, that's about all I can tell you about this. He's been working on it for a while. It finally actually released to the backers and the public fairly recently, like within the last 3-4 months, something like that.
Not too long ago. Yeah.
And they were actually held up on illustrating, from what I hear. And the illustrating is done by one Alec Sorensen, which didn't pick up a lot from this guy. I couldn't find much.
It's kind of one of those, what do you call it? Dark horse type characters. Yeah. I gotta say the art throughout this book is very, very good, though. I like it.
I like it too.
I like the art in this book. They did a very, very good job. It's definitely its own flavor. It is not something that I've seen. You're not going to see the stereotypical wizard fighting something in here. Like, it is very, very interesting. And I dig it.
Not even like the old school goopy kind of floppy ear things. It's not like Merkborg hack
kind of
and
its own
slash stuff
thing.
together. It almost reminds me of like light boxes, where you stack the papers in there and you backlight it.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it reminds me of. Yeah.
Very
cool. Very cool. Mythic Bastionlands. This is a game about knights.
Me.
Very few of you will get that.
That it's an old person joke. It is. Yeah, it is what it is.
So you are Knights of the Realm, and you are seeking glory, which is
what knights do. Yep.
They
head
go out, seek glory, help those in need, and to be one day they're hoping to be worthy of the city quest.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is a vague, way out there end game kind of thing. Now there is a city quest thing in the book.
There's stuff that they want to get done. The knights are the ones that go out and get it done, and so they ride out in search of getting it done, and that's basically it, right?
That's basically it.
This game, Finny, this game's got a ton to offer. This is a very, very, very big book. And I think it's time we jump into the nuts and bolts of this thing, because there is approximately 200-ish pages in this book. Okay.
Yes, there is.
There are 16 pages of rules here. Of those 200 pages,
of those.
That's it. Those are the rules. There's 16 pages of rules. There's stuff on how to run the game. There's stuff on how to be the referee. There's stuff on time, on travel, on all these different spots. There are tables on tables on tables on tables on tables. But there are 16 pages of rules, and that is it.
Each rule has like 3 lines.
Not a lot. Very
telling you what it does.
Very tight. It honestly, it's a double-edged sword. I said that already once before, but it is here as well. Right? Because the thing is that every single set of rules, if it's not in this book, then it's something that the referee and the table needs to make a decision on.
It is up to the table and the referee to decide on. Yes.
There's a lot of that filling the gap thing. Yeah,
there is, and this is the same as Into the Odd was as well. It's the way Chris McDowall writes his stuff. It's very much a lot of thoughts with a very few words.
Yeah, you need to show up with an imagination for this game.
Yeah.
You're not. The book's not going to tell you what you need to do. You're going to need to just know.
Heaven no. Anyways. It is built on the same system as Into the Odd, which is a D20 system with a roll under. So we're always trying to roll equal to or under any roll. Mm-hmm. Now, asterisks, because there's no 2 hits, really.
No, we're just doing damage.
For combat, we're just doing damage. You swing your sword, you always hit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah, knights don't really miss with their attacks. That's not really a thing that happens.
Yeah. What happens is it clangs off of armor and shields.
Right.
And
yeah. There's a mechanic for that we'll get into a little bit later. But,
exactly. And really the main focus of Mythic Bastionland, just like Into the Odd, is the story. Mm-hmm. It's heavily focused on the story and progressing the story forward and forward and forward. So if things that aren't interesting are happening, there's no need to roll, right? Only roll if there's risk,
something's taking place,
something important, or something is taking place that could steer things in a different direction, right?
Yeah.
That's when we roll our dice, and we roll our D20 as the save check kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The setting, of course, is mythic, pre-medieval fantasy.
Yeah.
Lower on the magic spectrum here.
There's not a whole lot of magic going on here. You're not.
No.
This isn't Dungeons and Dragons. Think more like the medieval era knights, swords, shields, armies, that type of thing.
We're talking more like Ironsworn here,
That's
right? There's a lot less of the fireballs and lightning bolts.
It's a little bit closer to reality than fantasy.
Just a little bit.
Now, the funny thing about the setting here, because this was really cool, I thought. On page 14, there are the instructions to create a realm. And so you've just been promoted to world builder. So congratulations. And if you're nervous about this, you don't have to be. Papa McDowell's got our back. We're good to go. We simply go to page 14. We start at the top. We work our way to the bottom. And by the end of that page, you essentially have now a hex grid, a hex map. And that is... You're now the owner of your very own Bastionland.
Yeah.
Land.
Congratulations.
We might have to work on that name a little bit. Bastionland land. It's not great.
Yeah. The realm of the Bastion, maybe.
That's right. And so with it being a hex map, now you'll see that we're playing through a hex crawl. And so what a hex crawl is, for anybody that doesn't know, because have we covered a hex crawl on the podcast?
We have
up to
not
this point?
covered a true hex crawl.
Crawl. I don't think we have. And so essentially what a hex crawl is a grid of hexagons, right? That make up your full world map. Or the map of the section. In this case, we're talking about a realm.
In Bastionlands, we're talking
about a realm.
A realm.
This space.
There's like 3 cities in here.
Yeah, it fits on a page. It fits on one page.
One page. Yeah.
And so this allows the players to explore the map divided into these hexagons, and then each stop along the way, something happens, right? And the excitement that takes place on these hexagons, I've got excitement in quotes because the excitement is typically in the form of stat loss and then encounters, which result in stat loss, right?
Yeah.
Like this is your
this is not a happy game.
No. And to be honest, your stats are almost like your currency, right? This is what it costs you to move around the map, basically. This is a perfect opportunity to mention this point, and this is where the game is a little bit punishing. So don't forget, Finny mentioned we're playing a roll under system, right? And so because we're playing a roll under system, that means when you get hit, let's say that your vigor, which is your health bar, your vigor is 15, you just got hit, and now it's 11. Well, guess what? Now you have to roll under 11. And maybe you get hit by a trap on the next step and your vigor just like plummeted down to 3. Well, now you have to roll under a 3, right? Yeah. So you see how all of a sudden now we're making decisions about when we're moving around the hex, where we're moving and how we're taking care of ourselves, essentially. So I wanted to get that out of the way right off the bat.
There are ways to gain this stuff back.
Yes, you're not.
Once it's gone, it's not always gone.
It's not permanently lost necessarily.
You will get it back.
There's ways. We'll talk about that later, but it's important to understand that we're in a hex crawl. We're rules light as a like a core value of this game. And a lot of the onus is on not only the referees, but the players to fill the gaps when there isn't an entry in the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As all rule lights are.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Finny, how do we make a knight? Because I got to tell you, I want to make a knight.
Now, making a knight is quick and dirty. I love this. This character creation is a lot of... It's really cool because it's really fast. It's snappy. But... First, we have to discuss a couple things.
Oh, right. We can't just make. We gotta know what we're doing. We gotta know what
exactly.
We're doing. Okay. I'm with you. I'm with you.
So first off, we have 4 abilities, and I mean, we're not going to worry about them too much here, but they are Vigor, Clarity, Spirit, and Guard. Guard is a pseudo ability, I'm going to say here, because it's not really anything.
That's the armor we were talking about earlier.
Yes,
think of it as like a shield, a bubble shield.
It's like a shield, exactly. So Vigor is like strong limbs, firm hands, powerful lungs. This is your physical stat. This is how much life you have in you. This is also your HP stat for combat. We have Clarity, which is like a keen instinct, a lucid mind, shrewd eyes. This is your wisdom stat. This can also be removed down and down and down.
Yeah, all of these abilities can be reduced. They can all be
go
reduced.
up and down. Yeah. Last up, we have our spirit, which is our charming tongue, our iron will, and our fierce heart. This is your charisma-ish stat.
Yeah, it's the closest.
And that's all we have. We have those four
basic abilities.
3.5 stats.
Strength? Nah. Charisma? Nah. Wisdom? Intelligence?
That's right.
No, we don't need any of that.
Who needs all those?
We got 3. Technically 4, but 3. and mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
I appreciate that. Simplification here is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So first, before we roll our stats, we have to figure what kind of game we're playing. So this is derived from our start and scope of the game. Now, this is in the rules. It's like page 4 or 5 or something like that, right at the very beginning. And it says that starts... there are 3 different kinds of starts. We have a wanderer start, which is you are young knights errants, and you guys don't have, on page 6, thank you. We don't have any glory to ourselves, and so we aren't really knights yet, even. And they start with a D6 guard and a D12 plus a D6 in each of these virtues. Now, sorry, I said abilities. They're actually virtues. I'm going to call them abilities all the time because it's a habit.
Kind of what they are, right? I mean, we're talking semantics at a certain point here.
Exactly.
But
the GM's a referee here. I mean,
it's at a certain point when you get enough of these TTRPGs, all the terminology kind of muddles together. Different games use different terminology, but all intents and purposes here,
they're all the same.
That's basically what we're talking about here is ability.
Yeah. Now, the courtier is the older and wiser than the knights errant. They begin with 2d6 guard, so quite a bit more guarding, and a d12 plus 6. So no d6 on this. This is just a straight d12 plus 6 on their stats. They're basically in the prime of their adventuring lives. Now, last up, we have the rulers, which are the older knights, the ones that are on their way out of knighthood.
They might have hung up their sword and scabbard a little bit ago, but could be convinced to get back into the sun.
Grabbed them back down just to Back in my day, I'll show these young whippersnappers how it was done. These guys get D6 plus 6. Again, no second D6, just a straight 6. And then for the guard, and then we get a D12 plus a 6 in each virtue as well. Now, one of these knights in the party rules over a holding. I almost said a hoarding, and that's dragons. This is a knight, different not game. The dragon. Yeah. A holding, and the rest of the party is one of their circles of advisors. So think King Arthur and his knights of the Round Table. Yeah, very much.
And I mean, when these different options simply dictate how strong are you at the start of the game?
Yes, these are the starting stats that you get.
Yeah.
Now, the way Mythic Bastionland works is it moves forward, time rolls on, as it were.
Yeah, if you start off with the old knights, not going to be the old knights for very long. That is a lot
more complicated than the GM wants to run at the beginning of the game, especially if we're trying to learn this.
It's
going to be complicated, so throw that out.
Yeah, chances are you'll be 1 or 2, but anyway.
Exactly. The scope is how long and involved this game is going to be. Now, the first one is the adventure. Now, this is a single one session, one shot kind of thing where the GM will probably just make some pre-generated characters, hand them out, and say, "Here we go, we're playing this.
Knights. Here's your knights. Yeah. It's board game night. We're playing this."
Yeah. Get your theater hats on. We're going, boys. The second one we have is a chronicle, and this is like a set number of sessions. So, like, let's say we're going to play for 6 weeks. Okay, we can knock this out, something like that. We've got seasons. We've got ages, and these are all kind of figured out. Of course, we'll get to those later.
Time's a thing. We'll get there.
Time's a thing. And these are all planned out ahead of time. Like, you know, at the end of the week, we'll move everything ahead once or something. Next up, we have Saga. Now, this is like the long D&D campaign.
That's your campaign.
This can, like, a year-long thing.
Yeah.
3 months. I mean, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
right? And that's how we decide where we start here.
You can boil these out into, is it a one-shot? Is it a pre-made book? Or is this a full-blown adventure? Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's kind of what we're talking about here. And chances are, if this is your first game, you're likely going to start as wanderers, and your scope is likely going to be an adventure. This will give you a taste, and then you can go from there.
Exactly, yeah.
But the
There's
option's
nothing
there.
to say that the single-session adventure can't snowball into a saga.
Yeah,
right?
no, you can do whatever you want here, but that's the gist of it.
That's right. Now we can roll our abilities.
Woo!
Because we get to pick our knights. No, we don't get to pick our knights. We get to roll our knights because that's more fun.
That's right.
And
Yes.
more fun. Randomness is fun.
We're not the rule police. If you're like, I want to be this knight, then good, go for it. I will just give you a bit of a warning here, though. There are 72 knights. So
You heard that right. 72.
72. Actually, it's funny. The knights and the myths, we'll get into the myths, but these two things take up the vast majority of the book. The knights you can play, and the myths are the bad guys that you can fight.
It's like 170 pages of it.
Yeah. So again, out of a 200-page book, you can see how vast that is. So, the encouraged way to do this is, like Finny was saying, you roll a d6 and a d12, and you're going to pick a knight off the page based on the results.
Yes. Now, at the end of the book, just like Into the Odd, is something that he likes to coin the odd-pocrypha.
Yeah, the odd-pocrypha.
Yeah.
That's the best I got.
It's like an appendix kind of thing. It has examples of play.
Yeah.
And in it, when you read through the creating character, he says that he gives an example of play, and then he gives his thoughts on what it was. Now, the creating character one, the referee says, well, you can roll them and see if you like your knight that you get, and if you don't, then you can pick one later. I mean, it's not a big deal because, hey, it's our game.
Yeah, we're here to have fun. That's number one. We want to have fun.
And he goes, Chris says, well, you know, that's not how it's written in the book, but your fun is valid. You can do what you want. Again, a lot of knights.
There's a lot. 72.
A lot.
That's a lot.
72. Yeah.
You thought D&D with 12 had a lot? 10 playable classes? No. 72 knights. That's what we're going with. 6 tables of 12, baby. Let's go.
That's right. We take a D6 and we roll, and that tells us which table we roll on, and then we take our D12 and we roll down that table and see where we land. And then, of course, that dictates what knight you have. And the GM actually takes and rolls in secret the D6 and D12 6 times and picks 6 myths and scatters them among their map that they have made, known only to them where these myths fall.
For sure.
Because if the players knew, that would be boring because they would just beeline for them and that'd be over. Yeah,
the myths make up the meat and potatoes of the referee's game, right? So, like Finny said, that you're gonna take those 6, you're gonna plot them on your hex map. Each one of the myths, again, there's 72 of them, so there's a page for each one of these myths. They explain the various omens that take place. The omens are like the signs of that being there.
Each of them has 6 omens.
And each has 6 omens.
Yes.
Ultimately, these are the things that explain that it's there, and then what happens should the players fail to stop it.
And what happens if they fail?
And what happens if they fail, exactly. One of the things that's missing from the myths is that there is no explanation on how you defeat the myth. There's explanations of what happens should you fail, but there is no explanations that say, here's how you defeat it. So that is now 100% the referee's decision. And again, this is the common thread here. So for example, let's say the myth is the ogre, and you want to knock him out and chain him up, or you want to banish the specter from the lands using a super secret trick that you had to do that one disgusting thing that your seer told you that you had to do in order to get it. Your ref gets the final say, and the ref can choose to say yes, they can choose to say no, or they can make a roll for it to see if it succeeds. So
That's right.
You get a choice, your game, your rules, your fun's valid, however you want to play, but be warned as the referee here, that is a heavy burden to bear, because your players will come up with an idea, and if you choose to shoot it down, that could kill off the table, depending on the way that your players are.
Real quick.
So be mindful about those kinds of things.
Yeah. Chris is one of those writers, much like another writer that we had covered fairly often with the one shot, the little mini ones. What's his name? He did Blades in the Dark. Anyways, they are big purveyors of failing forward, right? Failure is not something that debilitates you. It just takes longer, or something new happens, a new circumstance happens that you have to deal with before everything happens. So it's not failure's failure. It's
all
fail
is not
forward.
That's
That's right.
But something bad happened.
Yes. Your knight is knighted by a seer, and each knight has their own seer that they are knighted by.
That's right. Yeah.
And these are kind of cosmic good guys, quote unquote.
Yeah, they're all a little different.
They're the Gandalfs and the Merlins of
some of them are a little creepy. Some of them are a little creepy. I had tossed a couple examples in here because, and again, there's 72. Okay, so I don't know if that's resonated yet. Obviously, we can't go through all of them. That's just too much. But there's the welcomed seer who desires to be treated as a revered guest and can only gain useful visions when extremely calm or in a rage. So you have to either treat the welcome seer very nicely or very poorly in order to get information out of it.
Yep.
There's another seer called the needle seer that wants to just make other people feel bad, but they're doing nice things for the realm because they feel obligated to do it. And the needle seer has the ability to open small tears in reality, showing what could have happened, but now it's impossible. That can't happen anymore. Right? So it's just like these story mechanics that exist to help kind of boost the game a little bit and breathe some life into a lot of these things. But it's cool.
Exactly.
It's a cool idea. I like that.
It is. And again, each knight has their own seer.
Yeah, there are 72 of them.
different seers, and each of them is completely wacko, just like those two.
Yeah, at least I haven't come across a duplicate in the ones that I clicked through, so I believe they're all unique.
Like the snare knight is knighted by the swollen seer, who can only be moved by feats of engineering usually reserved for siegery. Sees within the minds of huge beings and wants to grow even bigger. Awesome.
I love it.
Each knight has properties.
Yep.
It's like your weapon, your
what do you come to the table with?
Backpack, companion, some sort of horse, because every knight needs a horse.
Yeah, they all have a steed.
And I think every steed is different.
They're all different too, yes. There's many steeds. As I was clicking through, I found one that said boneless steed or something like that. There is a
boneless steed.
Yeah, a Cosmic Knight has a boneless steed. It can squeeze through any gap as large as its head, which it's just like, man. Ridiculous.
Yeah. They also have, each knight has a special ability that only they can do. So, for instance, the Bloody Knight can slaughter Echo. Use immediately after defeating an opponent. Your next melee attack in this combat gains Blast. Blast is an area of effect, so everything around you gets hit by this.
It's
crazy.
Love it. The complexity inside a single page is really well done.
And then they also have a passion, and this is how you restore your spirit if you're that knight. Now, each knight has a different passion and a different way of regaining spirit, of course, because why wouldn't we all want to be different?
72 things.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we kind of mentioned about the myths, but again, there's 72 knights, there are 72 myths, and
that's right.
They all kind of play out the same way as well. The myths themselves also have a page. They've got the omens, and then there is a cast on the myths page, which essentially identifies the creatures, if we'll call them that.
The creatures that are associated with
an asterisk, because they're not always creatures, they're just things sometimes. But then there are a table on these as well that have various different things depending on, very similar to what we said about the knights, where the knights have like an ability and they have property. These myths have things and a table that coincides with said things. I know that sounds really high level and generic, but again, right, like if we
with
look
144 different knights and myths, we cannot cover them all. We can't even touch on half of them.
For example, there's one myth called the hole. The hole says, in mud and root from sunken land, careful hands plan works a grand. And so they have in here their omens, right? And inside the omens, it references a team of Ardrite builders hammer away at a great project. Then there's a table for the Ardrite projects, which you would roll 6d6. So not 2d6. You would roll on the d6, and then you would roll within that table. You would roll a d6 for this table, and you would choose from there what are they creating and what is the material that they're using to create said thing. So as we're mentioning here, the Ardrite builders are hammering away at a great project. We rolled a 4. They are now building a ship made of mud. Right? Or you can roll twice, and it can be
I think
ship.
you could roll twice.
Yeah,
you could make a ship of petals.
You could do whatever you want with this. It's your game. Enjoy.
Yeah, I think I would roll twice just to mix it up a little more. I like the cast on the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, the hole folk are little ones of the hole. So they're like halflings that come out of the hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And they're good at hiding, and they have no means or desire to fight. They just want to explore every part of every realm.
They just showed up to explore.
They just showed up. Yep.
They're all unique. All of them.
Not everything's about fighting.
Well, I mean, the architects all want to do some fighting. They want people to do their job, right?
Yes.
And at the end of this one, at the end of the hole, the last omen says a team of Ardrites are sealing up a hole in the ground. The final entrance to their world, their work completed, and then now you got to deal with Barabor, the deposed king of beasts who wants to be respected or feared. So there's stuff is happening, but crazy.
Yeah. Awful. Again, the GM sprinkles these throughout their map that they had made beforehand. Mm-hmm. Each game day has 3 phases because time is a thing
in this game, and time is a very important thing in this game.
It is a very important thing. So we have a morning, an afternoon, and a night phase. Now it takes, I believe I saw somewhere that it took a full phase to explore 1 hex. And I believe that's in the travel or the time. Trek, 1 hex on foot or steed. Yes. Now you can also gallop your horse. Yeah, there's a lot. We're not going to get into the specifics. Yeah. But just know that, so when you create your hex map, that's your region. And your region's fairly small because you can cross that in a day, right? You can cross that in 1 day or in 1 phase. 1 phase of the day.
If you're galloping.
If you're just trekking.
Or trekking.
1 hex on foot per phase.
Right.
So that's not that big of a realm all of a sudden. That being said, it never actually states how long a season is.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that
it's all kind of, everything's left up to.
I believe
the
it states that at the end of the session you turn the season forward.
Yeah.
So the next session is the next season.
Yeah. So it basically, the group decides how much time will pass, right? So they can say no time passes, weeks pass, months pass, years pass, or you can roll and make decisions that way. But resting comes with advancing time as well as gaining back your health and all of those types of things. So it is important to do those kind of time skips, but obviously it depends because, like we mentioned earlier when we were talking about character creation, your characters age too. So you can age out your character, and if your character lands in the old category, you will start losing vigor at the end of each age, and should that ever drop to 0, your knight will die peacefully at that point, and your knight's gone. That's it.
He's gone to the long sleep.
That's right. Lived a good life.
So the year is 3 seasons, X number of days per season, because that is the random part. It's
ref choice how long those are.
Yeah. Each life, quote unquote, has 3 ages, and that is your characters go from young to mature to old, right? Now, each time you roll at mature, you roll you re-roll your stats. If they are higher, you keep the rolled stat. When you're old, if you roll higher, you stay at the stat you have. If you roll under, you keep that stat now. So getting old sucks.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah, you're going to start reducing and reducing and reducing until you're dead, basically.
Yes. And then the new knights errant are going to be like, hey, can we have your sword? And you're like, no, this is my sword.
Exactly.
At the end of the session, yes, players decide if or how much time this passed. The game starts with knights setting out seeking glory.
That's right, because that's what the knights want. We said that at the beginning.
That
is the truth.
And glory acts as our XP in this game because there's no real XP in this game.
Brought it around.
Glory dictates rank among knights. Mm-hmm. So 0 to 2 glory, you're a knight errant. You're worthy of leading a warband. We'll get to the warbands later because there's a whole thing on that.
Yep.
3 to 5 glory is a knight's gallant. You're worthy of a seat in council or court. We will get to that as well because we'll get to everything later. 6 to 8 glory, a knight tenant, worthy of ruling a holding. 9 to 11 glory is a knight dominant, worthy of ruling a seat of power. And 12 plus glory is a knight radiant, worthy of the city quest.
That's the one. That's where you're aiming for.
That's the end game, baby. Glory can be gained in many different ways, most of which is like, finding myths and smushing them. As well as dueling, jousting, other things like that.
All the knight-related things.
All the knightly duties, yes.
It can also come in the form of potential combats.
It can. And combat
is complicated.
It's
so complicated.
It's clunky.
It is definitely was a sore spot for me going through with this game.
So players usually take the first turn in combat. So we don't roll initiative at all. There's no initiative. Who cares about initiative?
Yeah. That's clunky. We have 16 pages of rules. We do not have time to talk about initiative.
No. So players go first.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Unless you're not prepared. If you're not prepared, you don't go first.
If the enemy gets the drop on you, 1, that's not very knight-like. 2, you definitely don't get to go first.
Well, you have to roll a clarity save.
Right.
And that's
There's a chance that you might just see it happening.
Yeah. And hopefully you get your sword out of your scabbard quick enough and make it. But attacks follow in an order of operations kind of thing. All combatants attack the same target, roll their dice at the same time.
If they're attacking. They don't have to attack the same thing, but if they're attacking the same thing.
There are all sorts of
many rules.
Different things to do in combat and other things to do in combat. Again, this is a high level kind of overview of this game because we cannot go into
There's a
specifics.
lot. Yeah, you're going to want to grab the book if you want to get in the guts of it.
For 16 pages, we can't get into the...
I think it's
but...
important to mention here, too, is that you're saying they roll their dice at the same time. We don't roll attack dice. Attack dice don't
this
exist.
Is just damage.
Yeah, attack dice don't exist in 16 pages of rules. Only damage deals at this time.
Your knight has whatever weapon they come with, right? Mm-hmm. Axe or a sword or a cudgel or
sticks, whatever
and
it is.
That has a damage dice
whatever value is.
Whatever it is. So you all roll that at the same time. If the target or their ally can deny. This is on page 10.
That's a feat.
That's a feat, a thing that they can do.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
They can use that as a reaction. Attackers can perform gambits. That's another feat and different thing that aids attacks.
Yeah, it's like it's not a feat, but it's kind of like an action.
It's not a special move, but it's
kind of
special.
It's a gambit. It's its own thing.
It's gambit. Yeah. Then we take the highest remaining die and apply it. Any extra damage from attackers who are bolstering, which is also a special thing that happens off of page 10. We subtract the target's total armor score or guard, and the attack does that much damage. Now, this sounds very clunky.
Yeah. It is clunky.
It does. It is clunky. We haven't tried it for ourselves, but reading it sounds very clunky.
Yeah. It would come together.
I'm hoping that after a few rounds it would come together and you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is easy.
Something that I love about this is that you're throwing handfuls of dice. You're not attacking. You are just damaging. So once you get through all of the defenses, you're simply just doing the damage, right? And I do dig that.
Yeah, you just got to roll high enough to get through the guard.
Yeah. So as a player, you need to know, what is my weapon damage? What modifiers do I have? What defenses does my enemy have? And when the dust settles, will I have done enough damage to actually hurt them?
And from what I'm gathering from this, combat is not a long drawn out process.
No, it
does not last like 10 rounds. I'm thinking 2 or 3 rounds.
There's no like 5,000 HP enemies here. We're dealing with small numbers.
We're dealing with real people.
Yeah.
With real problems.
That's right.
With real armor and real blood.
Yeah. There's statuses that affect attacks as well. You mentioned blast earlier, right? With it targeting the area around, but there's things like impaired where all the attacks are D4 no matter what the weapon are, etc., etc. These things exist in the book. You're going to want to get yourself nice and familiar with all of those. These are part of the basic the basic rules on page 8. You're gonna want to make sure that you've got a really good understanding of how all this stuff works. Again, we're talking 16 pages. You do not need to read a 200-page book on how to play this game, but these pages have a lot of information on them, very specific rules worded very specifically. So make darn sure that you've got a very good understanding of this.
Yeah. Now, when our knights would be attacked and take damage. The attack's damage is deducted from our guard. If they have at least one guard left, they take no damage. Ta-da!
It was your shield all along.
It was your shield all along. If they don't have enough guard, the damage is taken from your vigor. And if you lose more than half of your vigor, you become mortally wounded.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And you are down, and you are dying. But you only die if you haven't been attended in an hour. So you got
a little bit of space.
You got time.
Yeah. You got a little bit of space there.
But if the damage were to reduce you to 0 vigor, you die outright. There's no saving, no nothing. There are no death saves in this game.
We mentioned feats earlier. These are on page 10 as well. And the knights have the ability to do these. These can boost damage, eliminate damage, or create opportunities to do an attack. These are kind of like knight superpowers, but they come at a heavy price because when you use one of these, you must pass a related save depending. So if you do a smite, you have to pass a vigor save. If you do a focus, you have to pass a clarity save. If you do a deny, you have to pass a spirit save. If you fail this, you will become
remember,
fatigued.
This is a roll under system.
Yeah, so if you're going to smite and you're rolling vigor, guess what?
Hope you haven't been hit.
And the more you get hit, the worse your smite will get.
The worse it's going to be, yeah.
And it does, it's actually very well done. It makes a lot of sense because you're obviously not going to be focused on being able to dole out strength while you're bleeding out from another cut, right? So I do like the way that they've balanced that out there. Fatigued is punishing because what it means is that you can now no longer use that feat, but you can now no longer use any feats until you rest. And this is a game changer in a combat, right? The ability to really boost your attack or change your type of attack. The ability to essentially have, if the enemy makes an attack and you can essentially just be like, no, they can't. This 12 that they rolled, we're taking that 12 out. Now they rolled a 4 and they missed.
That's right.
So those are big things. And it really hurts if you don't get to keep them.
It would suck.
Man. It would be really bad.
Speaking of losing things and getting them back, recovery. So each ability can be recovered in different ways. Guard is recovered by resting a moment after battle, so you automatically get that back. You're like, as soon as the encounter's done, ta-da, your guard's back. Done. Vigor is recovered by consuming sustenance or spending a full day in warm hospitality. Now, there is zero definition.
Yeah, that's not explained.
What warm hospitality is. So,
if you're the referee, play a game called "How Much Can the Players Beg Me?"
That's right. Clarity is restored by consuming stimulant or receiving guidance from a seer. And spirit is restored by consuming sacrament, kind of like going to church, or indulging in passion. Now, of course, we covered passions. Each one's different, so got to figure that one out for your own knight.
Yeah, your knight has specific stuff. Pay attention.
Sustenance, stimulant, and sacrament are what are called remedies. Now, these are things that you carry on your person. And each person can carry one, as well as your beast of burden can only carry one. Your horse that you ride is not a beast of burden. The mule that you tag along on a rope is a beast of burden. That's right. The pony, Bill the pony, is a beast of burden. All right, not John your steed. Now, they can only carry one of these remedies. Now, at a rest, you can use this remedy, and it restores that ability to everyone in the party, not just yourself.
That's right.
So no need to worry about that. And it doesn't actually say if you have to have written down on your character, I have stimulants or I have sustenance.
Right.
I mean, I would hand wave that and say, you guys each have remedy. Good.
The rest of the game's designed to make things simple. There's no reason to stop now.
Bang. Speaking of stopping symbols now, there's a whole bit on warfare and like not, knights fighting one-on-one. It's like groups of 12
platoon
people
versus
fighting.
that platoon. Yeah.
There's a whole thing on that. We can't get into that.
Yeah, there's a
just
lot.
Know that there are rules that you and your fellow knights can raise an army and attack and defend different parts of the realm.
It's all on page 11. So you can get yourself nice and comfy with that if you want to. There's
also rules for ruling.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. We don't get out much.
Yeah, it's a thing.
This includes dealing with the crises, and if they aren't dealt with promptly, then you have a revolt on your hands. If you end a season with more than 3 crises going on in your hold, you got a big problem.
That's not good.
Your guy, your boss is going to come down pretty hard on you and say, "Get out of here! I'm putting someone else in." There are also rules about tax collecting, building infrastructure, whatnot. Again, you can't get into all this.
There's a lot of various rules within this book. This game can be anything you want it to be, and the rules,
as deep as you want.
The rules allow you to play this way. So that's kind of the reason why we're not diving into the very deep end of all the specifics. There's not a lot of pages of rules, but there is a lot of information on those pages.
Yes, there is. And that's
basically it.
Mythic Bastionland.
That's kind of the gist of it. Finny, what were you thinking about this one? Because this you had brought this one. I had never heard of this game before. You had said, "Hey, I got this one. You got to check this one out."
I like this one.
You liked Into the Odd as well. That was also
I did.
up your alley.
I
you
enjoyed
really like
these
types of games.
Yes. I like freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I like being able to do what I want. I don't and I also like randomness and improv. Right. And emergent storytelling. I'm huge on emergent storytelling because the way that this plays out is the party does something and it shapes the world, right?
For sure.
You don't have a set steps for them to follow to get done. And that I really enjoy that. The downside to this game is what I'm coining the McDowall effect. He presents the barest bones of a structure of a game here. It's barely readable, but it's there if you can figure out how to make it work together. Right. I do love the artwork in this. The artwork is really good.
It's fantastic.
It's something special.
Yeah.
Go check it out. Even if you just got to pull it up on Google search and look at the art, it's
for sure.
It's well worth the
very
search
unique stuff.
How about you?
Well, I have concerns. There's a lot going on in this book, and there is a significant amount of work required on the GM. They've made it very easy to run a game, right? They've made it very easy to open this book, flip to a page, run a game, move on, and away you go. So when I say there's a lot of work required on the GM, that's not what I mean. I don't mean the setup and the takedown. What I mean is there's a lot of work on the GM for all the little piddly things that don't exist in this book that the players are going to bring up and bring your game to a screeching halt every single time. And because this doesn't exist in the book, you have 2 choices. Either A, you make a call from the gut right off the bat, and this will then be locked into permanence forever.
Yeah, do not backstep on that
because
one.
You said that when you drink this specific ale on this specific hex that you get all your stuff back. You bet your players are going to come back to that hex and do the exact same thing going forward. So that I don't like those moments. I like to have something that I can at least put a hook to and be like, well, it says this and this is close to that, and so this is what we're going to do. And then I have an out from there. I was not happy that there's no rules for combat. There are rules for combat in the sense of here's how you fight, but there was no here's how you build an encounter. There was no here's how you build an enemy. Here's how you build your own myth. Here's how you build this specific thing, the monster that fits within this, because I need that stuff in order for me to balance out my encounters, right? We got a whole page to build a realm. I couldn't get a half a page on how to build an encounter. I feel like that's something that was missing. And when you only give me 16 pages of rules, I'm going to be like way, way more critical on you with the rules than I ever would be. 72 pages of knights and myths, and you couldn't include a half page of combat and how to build a combat encounter. I get it. The intention is that you're off the cuff and you're trying to figure it out as you go, but I'm not that kind of player. That's not me, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I found myself, and Finny and I had a lot of discussion before we started recording this. I was regularly confused about how things worked, and then I flipped forward in the book, and I found a thing, and then I flip back, and then I go back forward, and then I go back, and then I'm forward, and then I'm back. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying the game is bad by any means. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. But what I am saying is that if you don't have the perfectly concocted group, it's going to be very difficult to pull this off long term. You might get those one shots, those board game night games out of this game with an everybody group, but this is not for your non-RPers. This game requires you to take on the role of that knight and have a large imagination. You're gonna have to stretch that imagination to its maximum in order to get the most out of this game. I'm not saying you can't have a fun time, but I am saying in order to get the most out of this game, you really have to have the right people around the table. And oftentimes those games scare me away because I'm lucky to get the group that I've got. I can't be picky and choosy with what those group members do. Otherwise I won't have a group again. And then the next thing you know, we're back to Dungeons and Dragons again.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So that's kind of it.
We stepped out of our comfort zone once and we were shoved right back in.
It was a harsh reminder. It was a harsh reminder about what that group likes to play, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But I mean, look, Mythic Bastionland is a game that you should check out. I'll throw a link in the description of how you can get your hands on a copy of this book, because you should check it out. If this is up to you, I know I kind of said 72 nights is a lot, but in the same token too, it's really impressive. It's impressive that there's 72 and they're all different. They all have different stuff and they all play differently and everything about them is different. And you're rolling stats on top of all of this stuff too. So it is possible that you play the knight the first time and they're not good, and you play the knight the second time and they're super great because of the way that it rolls.
That's a lot of playing to get that knight the second time.
There's a lot to go around. My luck, I would probably pull the same one twice in a row. But
yeah.
Finny, I think that brings us to the post-pod. 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 Post-pod.
Yeah. All right.
This one's all yours, bud.
This one on the post-pod question: how long into a new campaign does it take before someone starts hoarding the weird loot?
like it's the first roll, the character creation. I don't. Every group that I've ever played in, I'm not that guy. I'm not the hoarder by any means. But every group that I've ever played in has always had at least one, typically more than one. And they're always the person who asks for the bag of holding first, because they're getting awfully sick of hauling around the party's crap. But I'm not that guy. I'm not picking up notebooks and pages. If it's not very specific to the story, I throw that back down on the floor. I don't need it. It served its purpose. Great. Out. I need to keep my backpack nice and tidy. Everything's got a compartment.
I like to say I'm not, but
you are. You're the hoarder. That's you.
I am.
But in your defense, you've always found something good and useful out of those items.
Yes and no. I'm still carrying around manticore spikes that I have done nothing with.
But you could. That's the thing.
I could. Yeah. No, and as a GM, I always like to give that stuff out. If the party wants to, hack out the venom sac of the, whatever snake they just fought, go for it. Roll it. See if you get it. I don't know what the heck you're going to do with it later on, but
I love mundane item tables. They're some of the most fun items you can put into a RPG because they don't serve any purpose other than just to give the players something to talk about.
Nothing.
Like it's just story. Yeah. They're just story items is all they are.
Mundane items are fun.
A crude drawing of a nude goblin is my absolute favorite, most mundane item to give out. And it's amazing how much that picture gets used in various encounters.
I like the is it the mummified orc finger or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good ones in there. Love it.
Yeah. But yeah,
Hoard your
That's
items.
all for us.
Hoard your items, people.
Yeah. Hoard them. Because you never know when you'll need them.
Need it.
I mean, we just went through something where my character bought everybody's magic items for them because he was carrying around so much
That's
loot.
That's a good point. Exactly. You never know. You might one day
never know.
Need it. That's it. That's all for episode 23. I want to thank each and every one of you for choosing this episode, whether you chose to stream it, download it, or watch it on YouTube. Either way, we are super happy and appreciative that you chose to do so. You can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. The YouTube address is www.youtube.com/@DadGamingOnline. And we also stream live to both YouTube and Twitch, Dungeons & Dragons, every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on that pre-mentioned YouTube website address, as well as twitch.tv/DGOnline.
Do also have a couple other ways you can get a hold of us. We can reach us by email, mastersofpenandpaper@gmail.com. All words, no numbers, no letters, no nothings, just all
together.
All together. Send us something. It's very empty inbox. I'm always sad when I look in there. We also have a Discord server. There will be a link in the description for that. Come pop in. We hang out there quite often during daytime, nighttime, anytime hours.
It's always popping off.
God knows we do something in there all the time.
The nerds got to have a place to congregate. You know what it is?
That's what it is. Right. And what better place than virtually on the internet?
That's right. Exactly. Thank you one last time. This was Thank you one last time. This was Mythic Bastionland, and episode 24 is the next one coming at you. Make sure to tune in for that one. Until then, thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.